Oh yeah. I get around. Still clown with the underground when we come around.
Welcome back. Junkies on 106.7 The Fan. I'm John Paul Flame, joined by Jason Bishop, Johnny Cake Sawville, and Eric Bickle. That's the foursome. Coming up at 9 o'clock, our buddy Alan May from CSN Washington joins us to talk some putt caps. We'll host the Islanders, have home ice advantage on Wednesday as they open up the first round of the NHL playoffs. But joining us right now from Yahoo Sports, he's down at Augusta. It's Jay Busbee. Hey, Jay.
What's going on, boys? How y'all doing?
Good,
we
man.
were just speculating during the break. Are you playing today at Augusta?
Don't you have to win like a lottery or something to do that?
Some media members get the privilege to actually play around on the Monday after the Masters.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. A few media members do get it, but trust me, if I was slated to play, one of my colleagues is. If I was slated to play, I would not be talking to you. I'd be in a fetal position somewhere, absolutely terrified of going out there.
Yeah.
I know. I was thinking about that the other day. When I saw Ben Crenshaw on Thursday, and God bless him, shoot 91.
Right.
Right.
And I thought, well, I'd shoot $130 on
Right.
that
It's
course.
not a course for mere mortals.
Yeah.
It's just not.
No, absolutely.
So I got to ask you, man, what is the reaction amongst your colleagues in the media room after Jordan speaks to the media, answers the questions? Because he's 21 years old, but you'd think he's 35.
Mature, so classy.
We've talked about it all morning. Just the most likable kid in the world. But what do people say after a press conference when they're talking amongst themselves about this kid?
Well, everybody seems to be very happy with the way. There's two ways to think about it. I mean, obviously he's very much in the tradition of the golf professionals and the golf winners who have spoken well, who have spoken with respect, and that always satisfies a certain segment of the golf media. There's also the hope that he does not become this kind of standard. I don't want to say cliche spouting, but the standard kind of golf professional who simply goes and says what he should say without giving us a little bit more of a hint into his personality and who he is, because we all know what you should say, the proper respect and the way that you respect the game and history and those who came before you. But you do want to add a little bit of your own personality to the mix. So I think that's the hope is that he doesn't get ingrained into the sort of standard golf player speak too early.
Yeah. But most of the media, they all agree he's just the most respectful kid, and most polite and mature beyond his years, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's no dissension on that fact. Not at all. He's really. You haven't met anybody who has, to my knowledge, had a bad experience with him yet. So yeah, right across the board, there's very much of a respect and appreciation for what he's done and what he's done so far.
I will say this, and we learned a lot about his family life during the week, obviously because he's playing so well. But with his sister's autism and special needs, I think that really keeps you
grounds him.
Yeah, keeps you grounded. Exactly, that's a perfect word for it. It keeps you grounded. I don't know how you can be arrogant when you have to deal with something growing up like that with a sister, and he's obviously very close to her.
Yeah, that's a great point. And you see so many athletes, young athletes in sports like golf and tennis, where they are, when their talent is recognized, they're kind of sectioned off from society, where they realize, that someone realizes when they're 8 or 9, hey, this kid has got something special going on. Let's focus all of our efforts on training this kid. Let's devote all of our family to training this kid. And so you can see in a lot of instances where they become separated from normal life. They don't know how to function in a day-to-day life because they've never known it. And yes, you're right. When you're talking about his sister, when you're talking about his family life, talking about his college, he does seem to have had a greater set of life experiences, which is a strange thing to say about a 21-year-old kid, but still, he does seem to have a broader range than you might otherwise expect.
Jay, your tweet from 13 hours ago at Jay Busbee on Twitter kind of bummed me out a little bit. If Jordan Spieth sticks around Augusta as long as Arnold Palmer has, he'll be making a ceremonial tee shot to start the 2079 Masters. I don't know about you, but I'm not going to be around for the 2079 Masters.
Yeah.
I'm just not.
I don't think I will be either. Yeah, I don't think I will be either. But
Now I'm depressed.
I know, no kidding. I wrote that. I went and did that on my calculator. I'm thinking, oh Lord, but yeah, that's what golf has that no other sport has, and people will go and bitch about golf being boring and elitist and all this stuff, and there's a lot of contention for that. But what golf does have that other sports do not have is the ability to let its historical figures still be a real vibrant and relevant part of its present. I mean, Arnold Palmer was out here this week. He was obviously age. He's 85 years old, but he's still a presence very much. Jack Nicklaus, Gary Player. You don't see that in other sports, and that's something that keeps golf very special.
You know, so many great storylines this week. We've learned so much about Jordan Spieth, and we can see the talent, and we know he's going to be relevant for years to come. But let's be honest, one of the reasons why this tournament was, I'd say, more compelling than some of the last few Masters was because of the resurgence of Tiger. I didn't even think that guy should tee it up this week, the way he'd been hitting it recently and the reports that we've been hearing. How does a guy seemingly so miraculously quickly get rid of the supposed yips and have a short game that well when just a few months ago, you know, he couldn't even keep it on the green? What he did this week, even though he kind of fell off, he had peaked at tied for 5th. I think he finished tied for 19th. But it was nothing short of remarkable. The guy hasn't played a full round. What, has he played 2 or 3 in the last year? Mm-hmm. What he did was ridiculous.
Yeah, it makes what happened earlier this year seem really very strange and very anomalous, and it's almost as if whatever happened in those couple of weeks this year when he couldn't seem to figure out which end of the club to hold,
right?
This makes that seem like the outlier, like he just had a particularly really bad sequence. You know, you're right. What he did was impressive. I put even money on him even making the cut. You know, It used to be Tiger Woods versus the field. Now it's Tiger Woods versus the cut. Clearly, the guy is very comfortable at Augusta. He's very comfortable here for any number of reasons. But, yeah, you don't fake your way through 4 rounds at Augusta. You know, what he showed over the course of this week, very impressive. And I'm not going to say that he's back and he's going to go and win a bunch of majors, but he's not going to embarrass himself the way that he did earlier this year.
Yeah, what about the comment at the end, which we all just sort of mocked and laughed at, that he popped his own bone out? What does that speak to of Tiger? And, you know, we had it earlier a few weeks ago when he talked about his glutes didn't activate. Is this guy just some sort of, like, pathological liar, or what is going on here?
I wonder about that. I didn't actually. I was on the course still when he said that, and I wonder actually whether he. I haven't seen the replay of it. I've just seen the words, but I wonder if he was just screwing with people. You know, if he was just he knew what people wanted to hear, and he was not particularly in a mood to be.
I don't know. He said it on live television. It was pretty crazy. Yeah.
Oh, I know. It's great. And I'm glad he said it. You know, you love to hear stories that are little quotes like that are a little bit more remarkable, a little more distinctive.
Jay, I wanted to ask you about the course in general. We were actually talking about it off air. What was the reaction of the players? What was the reaction of the media? And was the committee asked about the course design, setup, and condition? Because last year when Bubba won it, I believe 7 guys finished under par. Okay, it played much tougher. Jordan Spieth could have had it at 19 under, which obviously would have set a record. But I think there was somewhere in the range of 30, 32 players under par for the 2015 Masters. Was there any discussion about that at all?
Yeah, and there was a record-setting number of eagles. There was a lot of discussion about what there was a presumption that the committee would go and make things more difficult, and I'm not certain, honestly. You know, when you're in the middle of all this, there's stuff going on at every minute, so I don't know if the committee anyone from Augusta ever addressed it, but I do know that people were saying that obviously it was easier. Augusta did not go out of their way to make it more difficult on the players. I mean, my assumption was that after Saturday, and we'd seen these low rounds, that they'd be putting the flags up in the trees for people to shoot at, but they didn't do that. They made it relatively easy set of pin positions on Sunday. So I think that they were looking for something to go a little bit lower, to give players a chance to score big, to score low numbers. It's not like the U.S. Open where they make it hard just for the sake of making it hard. This is where they're trying to craft a storyline, and that's what they ended up doing this weekend.
I wonder about we're talking to Jay Busbee here, Yahoo Sports Writer, covered the Masters this weekend. He's still there at Augusta. I wonder about Jordan Spieth in the future. Like, we know he's the real deal. Those of us that are kind of golf geeks remember when this kid playing some events as an amateur. We know what he did in college, the year that he was there at Texas. We know what he did last year. But what about that it factor that we talked about? You know, for all of his class, and this guy is like the guy you want your daughter to date, your daughter to marry. There's everything about him is likable, but he doesn't seem to have that overwhelming charisma. Will we get some of that, or is this kind of the guy that he is?
You know what? I wonder about that, and I wonder how much we want to project these kinds of things onto players. You know, we would love to see a player that's got a little bit more personality necessarily to them than a guy like Jordan does, but then that comes with its own set of drawbacks, unique set of restrictions. And if you see the worst of all possible worlds is someone who tries to force personality, who tries to be consciously outrageous or consciously provocative. So, yeah, I mean, he's that kind of quiet Texan type. I've seen people comparing him to Coach Taylor from Friday Night Lights and silliness like that. So he doesn't have that kind of crazy outgoing personality, but maybe you can't have that. Maybe you can't be focused on outside of yourself if you're going to be this dedicated and this focused and this driven at such a young age. I don't know.
It's kind of like his game, Jay, right? There's nothing extraordinary there, right? He doesn't bomb it off the tee. He doesn't have these spectacular. I mean, he's spectacular with his short game, but not in a way like Phil Mickelson flair. You know what I mean? There's nothing sort of flary and dramatic and flashy about his game, and neither is it about his personality.
You're exactly right. And part of the reason why Phil Mickelson is so dramatic and has so much flair is because he gets himself into so many mistakes. He gets himself into so many screw-ups that he's got to pull himself out of them, and he's able to.
Yeah.
But think about what a lot of his best shots are. They're recovery shots. And so Spieth doesn't make that initial error, so he doesn't need to recover.
I thought it was very interesting, too, where he talked about in his presser that he's not one of those guys. They asked him about sort of his creativity and how he sees some of these things. And he said, when he grew up, he wasn't one of these guys that just beat balls on the range, that he was a guy that liked to go out there and just play, And I think there's something to be said for that. Instead of just hitting the same shot over and over and over for an hour and a half, actually go out there and play golf. And that's how you develop the feel and the creativity.
Yeah, he's not a
and
technical
the recovery.
player.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. If you're a technician, you can go and do the same shot over and over again, but then it leads you to having a bit more trouble when you have to make that shot under less than ideal conditions. On a range, you're not playing a side hill shot. You're not trying to play an uphill shot. You're not playing a shot that's below your feet or above your feet. So, yeah, getting out and actually playing the course gives you a lot more ability to generate creativity than it would just sitting on the range banging bucket after bucket after balls.
All right, so, Jay, where did Tiger end up in the latest world rankings after the Masters? Do you know?
That I don't know, but I mean, obviously he was down below 100. I don't have it in front of me right now, but he was obviously in the low 100s or below 100 before, and he will move up a good chunk after that.
Yeah, the reason I ask is I just wanted to get to his schedule.
He's taking time off. He said that.
He's taking more time
so
off.
So annoying.
He's not going to play at Hilton Head. He's not going to play the Heritage. He's not going to play in Zurich. I don't think if he's not playing these tournaments, he can't qualify for the match play because he wouldn't be in the top 64.
He's a ceremonial golfer at this point.
So that would leave the Players, which he plays every year, and that's a month away.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, he would probably take some time off. He generally doesn't play a lot of these tournaments anyway. He's not the kind of guy who's going to go and most likely chase tournaments in order to qualify for other.
Well, no, but he does play. He does play the match play if he can qualify. He's always there.
Right. Yeah.
So that's why I ask about his schedule. Why wouldn't he play one of these two events to try and gain some more world match points?
I would like to see. I mean, it may be a situation where he sees how this mysteriously broken or not broken wrist is, and then he comes back. I think that he's probably got his eye at this point on St. Andrews, the Open Championship, because that seems to be, of all the majors this year, he's been really comfortable there. That seems to set up well for him doing even better than he did this week. And I mean, if I had to guess, I would say that's what's down the line for him right now.
Jay, thanks for the time. We appreciate it. Jay Busbee. Follow him on Twitter at JBUSBEE. Thanks, man.
Good stuff, Jay.
Absolutely. You'll take care.
All right, you too, buddy.
And he works for Yahoo Sports. He's plugged in.
So, we could just be seeing, it could be a prodigy, EB, with this Spieth kid because he's already won
he is a prodigy.
4 times.
He is a prodigy.
Well, I mean, going forward, he might not be just a one-and-doner. He could be a kid that wins 5-6 majors.
I bet everything I own that he's going to be a multiple major winner. And there have been great players like Freddie Couples, Davis Love that have only won one. He's not going to be one of those guys.
I hope not.
Yeah,
it's just really hard to win majors. I mean, Dustin Johnson hadn't done it. He's got a world of talent.
Yeah, but he's he's got a box of rocks for brains.
That's true.
Yeah.
Physically, he's just off the charts, though.
Yeah, he's got a huge dong. I know that. Just look at him.
That's speculation.
I'm putting a lot of money on that.
I'm telling you what, I get a little depressed when the Masters is over. I'm sorry.
I know, me too.
I do. Got to wait a year.
All right, phone number is 800-636-1067. We're going to chime in. We will start previewing the Caps hockey chances as they take on the New York Islanders. Playoffs start on Wednesday. Alan May from CSN Washington joins us coming up at 9.